Editorial Director of Events here at MediaPost. Thanks very much for coming. Every year we come here to DC around this time to tell everybody what the hell we're doing here. And it's, for those of you who are not familiar with MediaPost, we are a 20-year-old publisher focusing on the digital revolution in marketing and media. We've been covering it for the last 20 years. Mainly we've been focusing on the consumer segment and consumer product advertising and marketing. But we started doing this event in 2012. It has grown in popularity and devotion since then. And largely we came because we started seeing something happening in the political realm when it came to our field of focus, which was digital marketing. We started seeing, especially in the 2012 cycle, innovation happening here with data-infused media buying, with greater and more sophisticated segmentation, a lot of activity, especially around programmatic. And those were the places where we played. And we wanted to see what was going on, and we wanted to see the ways in which traditional consumer marketing and political marketing really could start. In many ways, what we found over the years is that political marketers have been increasingly ahead of the curve. A lot of marketing brands, especially in their use of TV. In the 2016, for instance, on this very stage, the then RNC digital lead, Garrett Lansing, told us how they were using really a breathtaking system of real-time nano-targeted and message-sequenced Facebook advertising during the 2016 cycle. This was something that consumer brands really had not been doing. And we've increasingly seen a lot of these techniques migrate more into consumer marketing. And I've had a number of people from this event over the years come to some of our other events on data-infused marketing and programmatic marketing to share what they're doing and how in many ways they're ahead of the curve. For better or for worse, there is real marketing innovation going on here, whether you guys know it or not. But compared to a lot of traditional brands, some of you in this field are doing things that the brands haven't even started thinking about. And that's why we're here, to look at that kind of cross-hatching. And in fact, this is not a new topic. The crosstalk between traditional consumer marketing and politics has been going on for many years. This conversation started at least back in 1968 when Joe McGinnis wrote the book, The Selling of the President, 1968. At the time, of course, we talked about it ironically and even snarkily about the ways in which politicians were being sold as brands now and as products. But in many ways, this has inverted. Politics isn't learning from the brands. We're getting to a point where now traditional product marketing can learn something from politics. And more brands have to consider where they sit within cultural marketing, how they bring meaning and value to what they do, the ways in which they associate with a variety of cultural values in the same way that politicians do, how they respond to controversy and crisis. A lot of the same issues that occupied politics for decades are now starting to occupy brand marketing. As the political becomes cultural, the cultural is also becoming more political, and the cross-chatter between the political and traditional marketing is now more important than ever, especially as we start seeing brands take a lot of their cues from the political space. So this event is more relevant across the board than it ever has been before. We're excited about it. This is always one of our most enjoyable shows to program and to host because we're all political junkies now, but also the ways in which a lot of these themes migrate across consumer product marketing and political marketing. And we do this after action report. We've been doing this now for 6 years. This is our 6th year doing it. And the whole design here is to look at the most recent cycle, to try to highlight the key points of change in that cycle and try to understand what happened in the last cycle, what can we learn from it, what surprised us, what's important, and what's going to be carried forward into the next. I know just from talking to almost everyone who's coming onto this stage that there was a lot that happened just in the last 2 years. A lot of technical innovation, a lot more sophistication when it came to data targeting and segmentation, and also a lot of vendors that started filling the space with solutions that you all had to sift through. So we're going to be touching on that traditional argument between digital and TV especially. $5 billion was spent in the last cycle. Where the hell did all that money go? How was it allocated? How did things change? Did we get anywhere with all of that spend? We're going to talk about substantial changes that happened in the social platforms and the social channels. They went through a remarkable new level of scrutiny scrutiny. At the same time, they changed themselves in the ways in which they related to campaign and media spending and how campaigns were using them. How mobile and especially texting, sort of the topic du jour this cycle was texting, and the ways in which it impacted get out the vote and fundraising, but also what's its future? Is it really going to stay legit? That's still an unresolved topic. We'll be taking that up. And so much time and energy went towards digitizing at the local level. One of the themes as I was talking to everyone for this event is how much energy, time, and focus was spent driving a lot of these tools, a lot of the digital thinking that had been important on the national level in 2016, and finding ways to drive these into local and even very local campaigns. That's a theme that I think came out in a lot of my pre-event discussions, and I think we're going to hear a lot of. Voter profiling reached a new level of sophistication and precision, became incredibly more detailed, and we're going to hear a lot about the ways in which the campaigns leveraged their databases much more effectively and how data drove a lot of the thinking this cycle. And then, of course, also how data-targeted get out the vote was. We'll be looking at that effort on the ground and the ways in which both parties were were driving enthusiasm and driving people to the polls. And as I said, in talking to many people for this event, it's clear that just in the last year or two, we've seen substantial changes. There are a lot of learnings from the last cycle, and we want to better understand how those learnings are going to be applied and what we're going to be looking for in the next cycle. So welcome. A reminder to all of you, we live stream everything we do on stage at MediaPost. So if you go to or direct anybody back at the home office to the MediaPost.com home site or to the agenda site for this event, they'll get the live stream. We'll also be blogging it, and we'll archive all of those videos so you can go back and reference them later there. Also, of course, thanks to our many sponsors who helped support us in this event. Market Predict, Next MS, Political Ads, ALC, and NBC Universal Stations. You'll be hearing from some of them. Some of them are out in the hall. We want to thank them again for their support. But we're going to start with the big topic, digital spend and where allocation went. That traditional argument between TV and digital especially. There are a lot of changes that happened across these channels this time. Not only greater emphasis and greater integration of digital, but TV itself as a medium has gone through remarkable changes. We've seen a drop in general audience, but we've also seen an incredible fragmentation of that audience into a number of other digital channels. The effort to get at younger voters had to contend with their flight away from TV. New channels like OTT and addressable TV came up and started grabbing some of that budget. So we want to start with that big question. What did allocation look like in this last cycle? What did we learn? Are we any closer to integrating digital and TV and getting a greater